Good morning, all. I'm Dr. Kharde Anup, Associate Professor from the Department of Community Medicine. Today, we are going to discuss health indicators and morbidity and mortality statistics. So, it is often asked how healthy is a given community, and to know this answer, we have to use different health indicators. So, why these health indicators are required? These are required to compare. So what does it mean? So using health indicators, we are not only to measure the health status of the community, but also it helps to compare the health status of the one country with that another. So health indicators also help for the assessment of healthcare needs and for allocation of the scarce resources. So for the monitoring of health services, activities, program, whether they are going today according to plan, that is according to aim and objectives, we require health indicators. And the last use of health indicators is for the evaluation purpose. So for the effectiveness of any program or intervention, we require health indicators. So the health indicators are required for the comparison, for the assessment, for the monitoring and the evaluation purpose. So the indicators are only an indication of a given situation or a reflection of that situation. So let's see the health indicators. So health indicators, these are the variable. Variable means what? These are the indicators which helps to measure the change. So if we measure sequentially over a time, they can give not only amount of change, but also they indicate the direction and the speed of change, and also serve to compare the different areas or group of people at the same moment of time. So the health indicators or health indexes, so in plural form it is called as health indices. So what is the difference between health indicators or health indicators? Health index. So when we wish to find out the relation of the health trend, so it is better to use health indicators rather than health index. So whereas the health index is generally considered to be an amalgamation of all health indicators. So what characteristic this indicator must possess? So ideally, the indicator should be valid. That means they should actually measure what they're supposed to measure. Next characteristic is reliable, also called as repeatable. The answer should be the same we measure by different people in a similar circumstance. That is, this indicator should be able to give same or repeatable or reproducible result if it is measured by two different investigators. This health indicator should be sensitive. That means they should able to sensitive to the changes in the situation concerned. Fourth characteristic is they should be specific. That is, they should reflect the changes only in a situation concerned. Fifth characteristic of these indicators is they should be feasible. That means they should have the ability to obtain the data needed. And the last characteristic is they should be relevant. That means they should contribute to the understanding of the phenomenon of interest. But actually in real life, only few indicators, rather I say none compile with all these criteria. Because like we discussed in during our theory lecture, measurement of health is not a simple. Like we have the problem in defining health, likewise we also have a problem in measuring health. So what are the different health indicators? These are mortality indicators, morbidity indicators, disability rates. Next is nutritional status indicators, healthcare delivery indicators. 6 is utilization rate. 7 is indicator of social and mental health. Evaluation of environmental indicators, social and economic indicators, health policy indicators, and health indicators of quality life. So we are going to see some of them. So today we are going to see mortality and morbidity indicators. So what are the different mortality and morbidity indicators? So mortality indicators are coup death rate, specific death rate, or cause specific or disease specific death rate, or it is related to specific group, that is age specific death rate or sex specific death rate, etc. Another mortality indicators are case fatality rate, proportional mortality rate, survival rates, also adjusted or the standardized rate, maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and neonatal mortality rate. Morbidity indicators commonly are incidence and the prevalence rate, also the disability rate. Apart from that, we also have different health indicators like fertility rate and the attack rate. Let's see one by one. So the morbidity indicators, like I said, morbidity indicators are incidence and the prevalence, then notification rate, attendance rate at outpatient department or health center. Next is admission, readmission or discharge rate, duration of stay in hospital, the number of days of spell of sickness or absence from the work or school, etc. So all these are morbidity indicators. The most basic or most important measures of disease frequency which is used in epidemiology and medical research are incidence and the prevalence. So what does mean by incidence? So by definition, incidence means the number of new cases occurring in a defined population during a specified period of time. That is, incidence is equal to, on the numerator we have no total number of new cases which are occurred during a given period of time, and divided by population at a risk during the period of time, multiplied by 1000. Next is prevalence. The by definition, prevalence means number of both old and new cases occurring at a given point of time or over a given period in a given population. There are two subtypes of prevalence. These are point prevalence and the period prevalence. Let's see this incidence and the prevalence means what. Suppose this is the hypothetical example. Suppose on 1st January 1995, we have randomly selected 1000 children between 1 to 2 years from one community. So on survey we have found out, so on that day there are 10 children who are actually suffering from the measles on that day. 40 had given the history that they were suffered from the measles in the past, and 50 gave the history of vaccination. So at that time there are 10 plus 40 plus 50, that is 100 children who are not at risk of developing a measles. So we have only 900 children at risk of developing measles. So we have decided to follow these 900 children for the period of 1 year. So during this follow-up, there are 90 children who develop a measles. That is 90 cases of measles occurred during our follow-up. And 810 children did not develop measles in during our 1 year follow-up. So what are the incidence and the prevalence rate? So the, like I said, prevalence means it is the, on the numerator what we should have, it is the total number of subjects who are having the disease at a point of time, that is old plus new cases, divided by total number of subjects studied. So on that day, on 1st January 1995, we have found that there are 10 children who are actually suffering from the measles. So the on numerator we have 10 and we have surveyed what total 1000 children. So denominator is 1000. So the prevalence of measles in that community is 1%. So the frequency of children who are having measles at the time of first medical examination was 1%. So this is called as prevalence. So remember, on the numerator what we have taken, total number of old plus new cases divided by total number of subjects we have surveyed. So the incidence mean total, on the numerator, total number of new cases of disease occurring during a period of time divided by number of people who were at risk of the developing disease at the start of follow-up. So on that hypothetical example, we have known that so during follow-up, 90 children develop a disease. So these are the 90 new cases and should be taken on the numerator. And the denominator is total number of people who were at risk of developing disease. So you must be remembering we have started with 1000 children, but in that children 100 children were not at risk of developing disease again. So at risk children were only 900. So the 90 divided by 900 is equal to 10%. So the incidence of measles in that community is 10% over a period of time. So what you should remember in incidence, the specification of time is very important for the incidence, because an incidence of 10% over a 3 period will have very different implication compared to an incidence of 10% over a 1 year period. So so always remember to give time framework for the incident. Next thing is incidence gives us the idea of risk of developing disease over a period of time. So what are the difference between incidence and prevalence? So you must be remembering on the numerator for the incidence calculation we have to take new cases which are occurred during the period of time, and for the prevalence these are the cases which are found out at that time, whether these were old or new cases. So on the denominator for the incidence we have to focus on the subjects who are at risk of developing a disease, and for the prevalence there is we can take all the person where irrespective of risk present or absent. Next is relation to time. So the incidence specified time period of the follow-up should be given. There is no such a requirement for the prevalence. So next, what are the incidence or prevalence or rate or the proportion? So always remember incidence is a rate, and also it relate to the time period of follow, and the prevalence is a proportion because there is a no time component. Number of times of subject examined. So you must be remembering we have to find out the incidence we have to examine at least or the minimum 2 times individual, and for the prevalence there is only 1 time subject can be examined. Next difference is evidence of temporal relationship. So from the incidence we can prove that key temporal relationship is present or not. That is whether the cause is beside the disease. But from the prevalence we cannot prove whether there is a temporal relationship present or not. Also from the incidence we can calculate the natural history of the disease, but the natural history of the disease cannot be calculated from the prevalence. So another relationship between incidence and prevalence is equal to incidence in the duration. So we can calculate prevalence by if we know the incidence and the duration of the disease concern. So we have also seen there are two types of prevalence. One is point prevalence and second is period prevalence. So the point prevalence means what? The number of current cases, whether they are old or new, of a specified disease at a given point of time divided by estimated population at the same point of time multiplied by 100. And the period prevalence is number of all existing cases, whether old or the new, of a specified disease during a given period of time interval divided by estimated mid interval population at risk divided by multiply by 100. So in point prevalence we are focusing at a given point in time, but in period prevalence have we are focusing on the period of the time interval. So let's see once again. Suppose we have period from January 1 to December 31, and we have different cases. We have total 8 cases. So the circle is represent the start of the illness and the line represented the duration of the illness. Suppose we want to find out what is the incidence of the cases. What are the incidence cases during January to 31. So we can say that the case number 1, case number 2, case number 1 is not an incidence cases because it is already started before the January 1. So what are the incidence cases? These are the case number 3, 4, 5 and 8. So all these are new cases which are occurred during January 1 to December 31. So what is the prevalence at January 1? So prevalent cases on the January 1 are cases number 1, cases number 2 and the cases number 7. So what is the prevalence of the prevalent cases on the January 31? So these are the cases number 1, cases number 3, cases number 5 and case number 8. All these point prevalence cases. Suppose we want to find out what are the period prevalence cases from January 1 to December 31. So we can, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 and 8 excluding 6 because this case start after the December 31. So another morbidity indicators are disability indicators. These are either event type indicators or person type indicators. Let's see event type indicators. These are the number of days of restricted activities, number of paid disability days, number of work loss days or within the specified period. So what are the person type indicators? These are limitation of mobility. For example, these are the number we find out the number of days confined to the bed, number of days confined to the house, or number of days which require special aid in getting in and around the house. So it is the limitation of mobility indicators. So what is the limitation of activity indicators? So these are the, here we are find out number of days where the performance is limited, that is person unable to perform his basic activities of daily living. These could be eating, washing, dressing, going to toilet, etc. And limitation in the major activities means number of days person unable to go for his job or do the household work. So all these are disability indicators. So let's see different types of disability indicators. First is health. So it is also called as health adjusted life expectancy, that is to measure the healthy life expectancy. So it is previously we measure the DALY, that is disability adjusted life expectancy, but it is modified to the HALY, that is health adjusted life expectancy. So the HALY is based on the life expectancy at birth but include as adjustment for the time spent in the poor health also. Next disability indicators is quality adjusted life expectancy or the QALY. It measure of the disease burden, both the quality and the quantity of a life lived. It is used in assessing the value for money on a medical intervention. The number of years of life that would be added by intervention can be measured by the QALY. So it is used to measure the value of money on the medical intervention. That is the effectiveness of medical intervention. Next is DALY. So DALY is disability adjusted life years. It measures the overall disease burden and it is expressed as a number of years lost due to the ill health, disability or early death. Another types of indicators are nutritional status indicators. These are the positive health indicators. There are three main nutritional status indicators. These are considered important. These are anthropometric of children, in which we have measurement of the circumference of weight, height of or the preschool mid-arm. Next is prevalence of low birth weight, that the children who are less than 2.5 kg, and the height of children at the school entry. So these are the nutritional status indicators. Another morbidity indicators are healthcare delivery indicators. So these indicators reflect the equity distribution of health resources in a different part of the country. So these are doctor population ratio, doctors nurse ratio, population to beds ratio, population per health or sub center, or population per trained birth attendant. So these are healthcare delivery indicators which are help to find out whether the health resources are equitable distributed or not. So let's see some mortality indicators. So first is, or the simplest measure is crude death rate. So it is defined as number of deaths from all the causes per 1000 estimated mid-year population in 1 year in a given place. So on the numerator, to calculate the crude death rate, what we should have the number of deaths during the year. Remember, these are the deaths from all the causes divided by mid-year population. Suppose we are main concern on etiology of the disease. Suppose we want to find out the cause or disease specific, that is which disease causes more death in the community, or suppose we want to find out the which is the community or the part of the group which are at high risk, so we can direct the preventive measures for them. So in that scenario, we can use the specific death rate. So specific death rate is equal to number of specific death rate divided by mid-year population multiplied by 1000. So suppose we want to find out the specific death rate due to the tuberculosis. So for this purpose, we have to take number of deaths from the tuberculosis during a calendar year divided by mid-year population. So all the cases, all the deaths which are due to tuberculosis should be on numerator divided by mid-year population. Suppose we want to find out the specific rate among males. So number of deaths among the males should be on a numerator divided by mid-year population multiplied by 1000. Suppose we want to find out what is the death rate among the 15 to 20 years of age people. So we have to take number of deaths of person aged 15 to 20 during the calendar year on the numerator divided by mid-year population of that particular age group. So here is the 15 to 20 multiplied by 1000. So when we are focusing on the cause specific or disease specific or etiology, so we have to use specific death rate. Next types of indicators is proportional mortality rate. So proportional mortality rate means what? When we want to find out the proportional of total deaths due to a particular cause. So here we have to use proportional mortality rate. So in the numerator is total number of deaths from the specific disease in a year divided by total deaths from all the causes in year divided by multiply by 100. So it helps to identify what the proportion of total deaths due to a particular cause. Under 5 proportional mortality rate. So to calculate the under 5 proportional mortality rate, so on the numerator we have to take number of deaths under 5 years of age in a given period divided by total number of days during the same period. Suppose we want to find out the proportional mortality rate for age 50 years and above. So we have to take all the dates which are occurred in the age 50 years and above in the numerator and divided by total dates of all age groups in that year multiply by 100. Next type of mortality indicator is case fatality rate. So case fatality rate means what? It is a ratio of total number of deaths due to a particular disease divided by total number of cases due to the same disease multiplied by 100. It gives you the killing power of a disease, and mostly it is used in acute infectious diseases like food poisoning, cholera, measles, etc. So the case fatality rate is closely related to virulence. So to those diseases which has high case fatality rate, the virulence of that disease or pathogen is higher. So you must be get confused between different types of mortality rates. Let me clear it once again. Suppose there is a, but what you should remember, there is a difference in the denominator. Suppose we want to find out the specific death rate for the measles. So the numerator is number of deaths from the measles during calendar year multiplied by 100 divided by mid-year population. Suppose we want to find out the proportional mortality rate for the measles. So what you should take on the numerator number of deaths from the measles in a year divided by total deaths from all the causes in that year. And suppose you want to find out the case fatality rate, so you have to take number of deaths due to the measles divided by total number of cases due to the measles. So there is a difference in the denominator. So for the specific death rate, we have to take the mid-year population. To calculate the proportional mortality rate for the measles, we have to take total deaths from all causes in that year. And for the case fatality rate, we have to take total number of cases due to the measles. Next is survival rate. So this indicator commonly used in cancer patient. So it help to describe the prognosis. So what is the formula? Total number of patients alive after 5 years divided by total number of patients diagnosed or treated multiplied by 100. The survival rate is also calculated using 100 minus case fatality rate. Remember, survival rate gives you the prognosis of a disease. Next is attack rate. Attack rate commonly used in a cases of epidemic, and also it reflects the extent of epidemic. So on the numerator, number of new cases of a specific disease during a specific time interval divided by total population at risk during the same interval. So it is an attack. Next is secondary attack rate. Secondary attack rate, it is used for the infectious disease in which primary case is infective for the short period of time. So secondary attack rate means it is a ratio of total number of exposed person developing a disease within the range of incubation period divided by total number of exposed or susceptible contact multiplied by 100. So out of those who are exposed or out of those who are susceptible, out of them, the total number of exposed person who develop a disease should be on the numerator. Let's see one example. So in a small town of 30,000 population, there are total 2,000 deaths in a 1 year. Among these, 100 deaths out of these were reported due to the tuberculosis. 550 deaths were of children under 5 years of age. So what are the different rates we can calculate from the above scenario? So we can calculate crude death rate, specific mortality rate due to tuberculosis, specific mortality rate under 5 years of age, proportional mortality rate due to the tuberculosis, and proportional mortality rate under 5 years of age. So putting all these values, we can calculate crude rate is 66.6 per thousand mid-year population. Specific mortality rate due to the TB is 3.33 per thousand mid-year population. Specific mortality rate in under 5 age group is 18.3 per thousand mid-year population. Then proportional mortality rate due to TB is 5% and proportional mortality rate under 5 age is 27.5%. So you have to remember all the morbidity and mortality statistics, and based on the scenario given in the exercises, you can calculate the difference, prevalence, incidence, and different morbidity and mortality statistic. So this is all from my side. Thank you.